I love my ROG Ally, and it is one of my favorite devices Asus has ever released. But there were some complaints people had about the device. The bad battery life, the constant micro SD card slot failures. Me personally, my left analog stick had a weird sort of like, I wouldn't describe it as a kink, but it just felt worse than the right stick. So the left stick just aging poorly was something that I really got annoyed with. Overall, it felt like a pretty complete package. There was nothing really, in my opinion at least, that needed a massive overhaul or even a minor overhaul that would warrant sort of a mid-generation refresh, i.e. something like the original Xbox One to the Xbox One X. Like, we didn't really need the ROG Ally X. Funny enough that it's named very similarly to how the Xbox One did it. But it just left me confused when I originally saw the announcement for this device. But now that I've actually had some time with the device hands-on, bear in mind, it is very limited experience, and I do not own the device, I merely borrowed one, and it's a great device, and it solves a lot of the problems people had with the original. But I'm left thinking, this doesn't make a lot of sense if you own any other of these PC handhelds out there. Especially if you own something like a Lenovo Legion Go, it really doesn't make any sense to buy this thing. But that doesn't go to show that this device isn't amazing. The ROG Ally X is probably one of the best redesigns we've ever had, and it goes to show that Asus has learned a lot from all the mistakes that they made with the original ROG Ally. But the Ally X has some of its own things that I really like and frankly don't really care about. And to me, there are some awesome and negative things with the original Ally. I'll run you through some of the other features that the Ally X has improved on. It has double the battery capacity, which is amazing. It has the same IPS 1080p 120Hz display, and that's not bad by any means. It's an amazing display, though I would have wished to see a little bit larger of a display, or maybe OLED, but either way, it's the same great display we've seen before, and that doesn't change the fact that it wasn't amazing before, but I would have liked to see something better. It now has 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM, which is not only more RAM, but it's also faster RAM than the original Ally had. It now supports a larger 2280 sized SSD, which is really nice to see. Better overall thermals, which in my opinion weren't all that necessary. The Ally was pretty quiet on its own, and the Ally X just continues that trend of being pretty quiet while maintaining solid temperatures. Now that we run through some of the speeds and feats of this device, why do I not particularly care about this device? Well, that really starts with the battery life. Though doubling the battery life is amazing, it doesn't change the fact that most of these PC handhelds aren't still at a point where you feel comfortable leaving the house without a charger, and I suspect that'll be the case until like the third or fourth generation of these handhelds. Because not only are you dealing with, processors that aren't necessarily designed for maximum battery efficiency, you're also running into Windows whole, battery inefficiencies on its own. So it's not necessarily a problem that'll be fixed easily, and you might have to brute force it. But the chemistry that went into making these new, high capacity batteries is phenomenal. And the fact that they were able to get 2 hours out of this thing is amazing. I get the 2 hour figures from my time using the device. I would get 2 hours playing Destiny 2 versus the original Ally where I would barely get an hour. So I would suspect you get double the battery life, and I'm the kind of person that leaves the Ally at maximum wattage no matter what game I'm playing, because I'm incredibly lazy and I also tend to forget to change the power profiles depending on the game I'm playing to help better optimize for the battery life. I did the same thing to the Legion Go and the Steam Deck, and frankly, all their battery lives are just okay in the best of circumstances, and it doesn't bother me that much because I'm never that far away from a charger, and I also carry around a battery bank wherever I go. Whenever I leave the house, I got a battery bank on me, and 9 times out of 10, it is capable of charging something like the ROG Ally X or Steam Deck or anything like that. To me, battery life, though, has improved dramatically, to me, still hasn't improved to the point where I could say, oh my god, this is the best battery life. The Legion Go still has pretty good battery life in comparison to some of the other devices. And the Ally's is better, but that doesn't mean all these other devices are garbage. The only one I would truly say had bad battery life was the original Ally. But to me, that really wasn't why I was recommending the device. For me, I was recommending the original Ally because of the price. You were able to consistently find the original Ally on sale. You can get the Z1 Extreme equipped version for like $350 open box. And that at that point, you're not competing with other, PC handhelds like the Legion Go, anything from Neo and whatnot. You're competing with the Steam Deck at that price. And that is a killer deal if you're able to find one of these devices at that price point. Even with all the problems the original Ally had, at that price point, it was a killer deal. And the new Ally comes at a whopping $800, $100 more than the original Ally originally launched at. So I feel like this isn't necessarily Asus being the good guys and releasing a new product because their old one was bad. It feels more like what Nvidia does whenever they release a TI series card. They do it just to restart their MSRPs, get everybody talking about their devices again, and sort of reset the mindset of how much these things are supposed to cost. That's exactly what MSI did with the MSI clock. They made a new version with the updated processor, and then reset their MSRPs back to what they were because of the erosion that happens over time. I mean, this video is proof in of itself that I only recommend people to buy the original Ally when it was on sale. And people would notice that, obviously, and so they would all start waiting when it was on sale, and therefore people aren't really buying the original Ally when it was at full price and on sale. So I feel like that Asus is clearly doing this to reset their MSRPs to be able to charge more and now have a new cycle to sort of like work with to let this price erode. Then when they can finally release a proper ROG Ally 2 that can do this whole cycle all over again. But don't get me wrong, this is an amazing device. The improved RAM allows for much stable performance. While I didn't really notice a huge performance gap between the Ally X and the Legion Go, I feel like they were sort of traded blows and they were very similar performance-wise. At best, maybe the Ally X was like 5 to 9% faster than the Ally, and roughly like 4 to 7% faster than the Legion Go. So I think this device overall is faster and one of the fastest gaming handhelds we've had. But it's not that much faster, not really worth considering the upgrade for. But something that the RAM does do is whenever you're playing a super VRAM dependent game, something like Last of Us Remastered, that game chews through VRAM, and having that extra 4 gigs dedicated for VRAM on the processor, it is fantastic. You notice a much stable frame rate than you would otherwise, because once you start running out of VRAM, you start dumping graphics and game data into system memory, and that is much slower than the VRAM, and that causes stuttering, hitching, problems that don't necessarily affect FPS, but affect how smooth your gameplay is. And having that extra 4 gigs goes a long way to improving that experience. But I don't play those kinds of games every day. I play mostly esports titles like Destiny 2, and I even play lighter titles like Minecraft on these things, so I'm not really utilizing all that VRAM. It hasn't really been a problem for me prior to this. So if I was specifically looking for instances where that would have been helpful, yeah, there are quite a few, but for my daily use, I didn't really notice much of a difference compared to the original Ally. Even the Steam Deck, I barely noticed difference, but I would say the performance gap is more noticeable between the two. But the Steam Deck runs smoothly just fine, so just because it was a lower FPS, it was kind of hard to, care, because I grew up playing on consoles, so I'm used to playing most games at 30 FPS. Overall, the Ally X is probably one of the best handhelds right now, and it's a good device to buy if you have nothing already. And it's a good spot to jump in on if you just now were getting into the scene. To surmise this whole video, the Ally X is great, but it's a little expensive. Go buy the original Ally if you want to save some money, but if you want a next-gen feeling device, pick up a Legion Go because it's different enough that you might appreciate that. So I would love to hear what you guys think. Do you want a Legion Go, or do you want to just buy an original Ally? Has this video convinced you to just buy your time and wait? I would love to hear what you guys think about this down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.